It's back to school week here in Louisville, Kentucky. So in honor of my kids going back to school, I decided to make a video to help you understand more about the public school system here in Louisville, Kentucky. If you've ever spent any amount of time trying to research, figure out, understand the public schools here, you may have felt confused, discouraged, defeated. But don't worry, I'm going to help you in today's video to be able to figure out and understand what are your options as far as public schooling is concerned in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm Katie Skeen, a local realtor here in Louisville, Kentucky, and in my channel, Life in Louisville, I'm trying to help you understand everything you need to know about moving to and living in Louisville, Kentucky. The first thing you need to understand about our public school system is that it's a county-wide school system. Our school system is called the Jefferson County Public Schools. We locals just refer to it as JCPS. Now, if you're from another mid-major city, Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Nashville, I'm actually from Columbus, Ohio, you might be used to more of a suburban district school model. So I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. I lived in a suburb of Columbus called Upper Arlington, and I went to the Upper Arlington Public Schools. Now, the same was true of all of the other school districts of the suburbs. All of the suburbs had these smaller school districts that were making up all of the public schools in Columbus, Ohio. That is not the case here in Louisville. We have one school district. There's an exception, but I'll talk about that later. We have one county-wide school district called JCPS. Now, JCPS is the 30th largest school district in the United States. So that kind of blows your mind because as far as population is concerned and the size of our city, it's almost surprising to find out. But because we cover the whole county, we are the 30th largest in the US. We serve over 100,000 students and we have about 150 schools within our district. So to understand how we got to the point where we are today, you need to understand a little bit of the history of JCPS. JCPS traces its origins back to the 1830s when the Kentucky legislature determined that we needed to have a common system of schools. So we were established back in the 1830s. Now, over the course of that 100 years, we had the Louisville Public Schools and we had the Jefferson County Schools. We had a couple of smaller little school districts that were emerging here in Louisville, Kentucky. But if we fast forward to 1975, something very important happened. That's when we decided to merge all of these smaller districts together into one larger Jefferson County Public Schools. The reason for that was to try to foster desegregation and to get more racial equality within our schools. So on the first day of school in 1975, they started this massive plan under the big Jefferson County Public Schools to desegregate the schools. And the way that they accomplished this was through a massive busing system. Now, it's still true today that students in Jefferson County mostly and largely are bused around the county to create more of a diversity in the schools. Over the last 45 years, the student assignment plan has shifted and changed over time. When it first started back in 1975, they were just trying to reach quotas for diversity based on race. But over the last 45 years, they've also taken a look at socioeconomic status and also the parent education attainment. So how much schooling the parents have had. I mentioned this student assignment plan. Well, what is that? You know, if you live in another city, you're probably used to having an address, you live in this one spot, everyone in your neighborhood goes to the same school. That's not the case here in Jefferson County. So the student assignment plan, JCPS offers a student assignment system that meets the unique needs of our community. The system lets you apply to various schools based on your home address. So student assignment is just referring to the different choices that you have as a parent of where you can send your school within our public school system. Now, as I've mentioned, they've changed this plan over the last 45 years, and actually just in June of 2022, they voted on a new proposal to overhaul the student assignment plan, and those changes were approved, and they're going to be taking place in the 2023-2024 school year. So next fall is when these changes in our student assignment plan will take place. A short overview to some of those changes include allowing students in the west end of Louisville to attend school close to their home rather than further away. They are calling these the school choice zones. Another change is that we're reducing our number of feeder patterns. So in the old system, if you looked up your area and your choices of school for elementary school, you may have had 4 to 8 options for elementary school. You probably had 2 to 3 for middle school and maybe 1 or 2 for high school. In the new plan, they are trying to simplify these feeder patterns of how you can make it to high school, and they've reduced the feeder patterns from 90 to 23. The last thing is that they're changing some of their strategies in regards to the magnet schools. Now, in next week's video, I'm going to be talking about the magnet schools, so we won't discuss those changes here today. Today, we're primarily focused on our cluster schools. So how in the world do you figure out what cluster you're in and what options available to you based on this new plan? Hold up, I know you want to hear about what your school options are, but before we do, if you're enjoying this video, please like it and please subscribe to my channel so that you can make sure you watch next week's video and get a notification about it when I talk about the magnet schools. That would really help me out. Here we are on the myschoollocation.com/JCPS student assignment website. This is going to let you know your options starting in the 2023 school year. As you can see, this is a map of Jefferson County, and you see all of these geographic regions highlighted in colors. These are what we call clusters. So every cluster is going to have different options for their school choices. So I'm just going to show you exactly how I would figure out what cluster I'm in. I come up here to the address bar and I type in my address. I've got approved elementary clusters, middle school clusters, and high school. So click search, here's my house, and I am in the Atherton boundary cluster. My elementary school options are Bloom Elementary, Camp Taylor Elementary, and Shelby Traditional Academy. Now, one of the cool things about this website is right here next to each school name, it has a link to the school's website where you can read more information about that school and what their priorities are. If you scroll down, you can see that my middle school option is Highland Middle School, and there's their website. And then for high school, my option is Atherton High School. Now, like I said, we're going from 90 feeder patterns to 23, so it used to be that there were a lot more choices. Parents still have choices. Okay, I have 3 elementary school choices, but then they've really simplified the pathway to middle school and high school with just 1 choice. Now, I mentioned to you the school choice zones. One of the things about the new student assignment plan is that they're trying to give students out here in this west end of Louisville, they're trying to give them more options for where they can go to school. So I'm gonna put in a West End address, actually of a house that's for sale right now. So let's pretend that we were going to buy this house and we were trying to figure out what were our school choices. So like I said, this is the West End and more downtown of Louisville over in this area. But here I am in the Jeffersontown cluster. You can see for the West End choice zones, I have close to home options and I have far away options for elementary school. So my close to home elementary school options would be Cochran, Engelhard, McFerrin, and Wheatley. My far away choices are Cochran, Farmer, J-Town, Tully, and Watterson. For middle school, I have a close to home option of the new West End Middle School that they're building currently, and my far away choice would be Ramsey. And then for high school, I have a close to home and far away option as well. So if you're living in the West End or near downtown, you're going to have a lot more options. You're going to have close to home options and far away options, and hopefully that'll help you to find a school that would be a great choice for you. So once you figure out what cluster you're in and which schools are available to you, you're going to want to go ahead and apply for the school that you want to go to. So the application process typically opens up in November and goes till about December, but you'll apply for the elementary schools that you want to go to. Out of those 3 choices that you have, you'll rank your choices, number 1, number 2, number 3. I'm going to read to you right off the JCPS website about how they kind of make these assignments. It says student assignment keeps sibling together in cluster schools when parents indicate the sibling school as their first choice. The district also considers parental choice, space, reside school, and diversity in the student body when placing students at school. So you apply, and then in the springtime, you'll find out where you're going to go to school. Now, are you having trouble figuring out which of those cluster schools you want to choose? How in the world can you research the cluster schools? Well, this is what I did. I think I mentioned to you already, my kids are actually in a JCPS elementary school. They go to Audubon Traditional Elementary School, which is actually a magnet. We're going to be talking about the magnet options in next week's video, so make sure to check that out when it comes out next Friday. but this is how I actually researched where I wanted my kids to go to school. When we looked in that school finder, you saw that there were websites for each of your choices. I definitely read over the website for each school to get a feel of what the program is about, how it's oriented, and what kinds of students would flourish in that program. I also checked out greatschools.org. Greatschools.org is a website that empowers parents through information. So you can search the name of the school, and each school is given a score based on 10, and it'll give you a lot of other kinds of testing information, demographic information. It has parent reviews on there, so it's a great resource for you as well. Then, of course, there's the Kentucky School Report Card, so you can check out that website as well. It actually gives you, the Kentucky Board of Education provides this information for transparency of all the schools in the state of Kentucky. So you can research any school in the whole state and it will give you a score, it'll give you their test scores, it'll give you their diversity information, their behavioral reports, that sort of a thing. Of course, you can take a tour of the school and meet the principal. I highly recommend that as well, for you to actually get to step foot in the school and get a feel for what the principal in the school is really all about. And then lastly, you might consider attending the JCPS Showcase of Schools, which happens every fall. It's at our Fair and Expo Center. All of the schools will be represented there. You can meet staff from the schools as also their principal. It's a great place to get a lot of information at once about several of the different JCPS schools. And then lastly, it's always a good idea to actually talk to parents of, parents who have students in the school. So I always recommend that as well. Hopefully this video has helped you clarify how to look up what cluster you're in, what are your school choices, and how you could research those possible choices. If you have any more questions about the public school system here in Louisville, Kentucky, please reach out. I love to help people kind of figure out where to live and what their school choices are. So never hesitate to reach out and I can try to help you in any way that I can. Also, if you're wanting more information about magnet schools, make sure to subscribe to my channel so that next week you'll get notified when that new video comes out about our magnet schools here in Jefferson County. Lastly, if you're moving to Louisville and you want more neighborhood information, you might want to check out some of my videos moving to Louisville, Kentucky, where I explain the different various neighborhoods here in our city. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.